Uh, we'll start with Age of Wonders. That'll be shorter, I think. Age
Yeah.
of Wonders open beta branch is now available. So they put together an update for an open beta, which is cool. You can, my imagine how it works is you'll have to, in Steam, or I guess, I don't know if this game is available anywhere outside of Steam, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe Epic? But in
Not sure.
Steam, I imagine what you do is you head on over to the instructions and you'd probably have to select that specific branch. That's typically how you
Hmm.
do it on Steam. But it's I like when games do this. There's a couple of the games that I play that have like a beta kind of uh what is it? Branch. Yeah, beta branch. I like when they do that. Some of them I always sign up for the beta branch. So it's very cool. The obviously if you're in an open beta branch, you have to recognize that things are a work in progress. So things are very likely either to be maybe a little bit buggy or not 100% completed. But I like the idea of doing this. Here are some highlights of what we've been doing so far. Research pacing. Um, Previously, the cost of research was determined by the tier of the tome the research was in. This led to players researching lots of early game skills very quickly. Right? This was a huge issue, actually. Was
Yeah.
you could actually speed run a tome if you just took all the easy low tier researches. You could just speed run a tome, which didn't really make a ton of sense to me. It's like
Yeah.
if I get into a high tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 tome, and I just get
You just
lucky.
research one of the like cultural ones that you start with early on that you haven't like researched or something. Yeah.
It either researches right away or takes one turn, and you just speed run that tome. It's a little bit silly. Um, so what they did was to fix this. We've implemented a system where the cost of skills in a tome depends on how many tomes you have unlocked previous to that tome. This means that the skills in the 5th tome you unlock will always cost roughly the same amount of research, regardless of whether it's tier 1 or tier 3. We've also reduced research speed in general since we felt that players were accessing new units and spells so quickly that they didn't have time to enjoy the things they unlocked before they were made obsolete. I actually agree with that too. Here's one concern I have. Some of the story content relies on you speed running the shit out of your stuff. I worry a little bit that this impacts the story mode. Let me give an example. In Story 4, which I don't think you've still played that one yet, which is
No.
understandable. You got Final Fantasy. You have to kind of beat that one by turn 60 to 70. You kind of just have to be done by 60 or 70. And if you can't, the game's over. In my opinion, the game's just over because somebody gets a magic victory before you.
Well,
So
they're changing the way Magic Victory works, and also if you're not able to research so fast, then Magic Victory won't come in as early, you would think, unless the AI is cheating like literally that hard.
right,
But yeah.
do we think the AI is going to be impacted by the rework? Is my question. And
Yes,
how
because
will
it
they be
require
impacted?
because they're literally changing the way you get it. You have to capture a certain number of gold ancient wonders and integrate them into your cities in order to get the magic victory. It's not just
Oh,
through researching shit.
this is
Like,
gonna make story better then. Thank God,
yeah.
because like I was like, oh shit, this is gonna suck for story, but this will actually be great for story. Obviously like skirmishes and whatever, but like story, the biggest reason you would lose and you had to speedrun was because the AI hit magic victory at turn 80,
Yep.
and I was like, okay, well, what the fuck am I doing? Okay, great, that's great. Let's we already you already talked about that. Let's keep going. Underground layer. We know that people want more from the underground. I feel like yeah, the underground is really bare bones. Um, Underground cities may now annex surface provinces by annexing provinces with cave entrances, which I think makes sense. I think that kind of makes sense. You like have a cave entrance underground, be able to annex the top ground. Might be interesting. Spell cast limitation. Players casting multiple spells per turn on the world map. Yes. Yes. I've been able to cast like 4 spells in a turn because they're low cost. So we're trying to we're trying out a 1 spell per turn limit on casting spells on the world map. You'll be able to increase this limit by 2 by 2 by building the channeling tower in the Wizard's Tower. I have a light concern regarding story mode. This was one way in story mode you could combat the super uber powered guy having 7,000 power trampling at your doorstep.
Yeah.
You could really cut down the power there. I think for multiplayer this makes sense. For story, this is gonna stink. Because a lot of the value you got from being a wizard king, whatever, was
the casting points.
Was being able to take a 1,000 army and bring it down to like 700 to make it manageable. Because then instead of 3,000 power coming at you on turn 20, now you're looking at something a little bit more manageable of like 2,100. So I am concerned about story. I'm sure they're not necessarily super worried about it compared to some other things. But like story mission 5 is, I feel like they should just redo that one. That mission is not really well baked. Summon spell targeting. On a similar level, we've noticed that the current rule of allowing summon spells to target any visible hex on the world map is causing issues. Players are overly favoring summoned units over units constructed in cities since they can be summoned to the front line. I agree. To fix this, we've changed the summoning rules so that you may only summon units to hexes adjacent to your cities or your ruler's army. Yeah, I agree with this one too. Increased hero upkeep. When you break the maximum hero cap, each hero costs 30 gold per turn upkeep. It was the intention that this would be expensive enough that players would only break the cap in emergencies. Yeah, hero item limbo. Allow players to instantly teleport items between heroes, which led to a number of exploits. Agreed.
Yep.
Implemented a system once a hero commits to removing an item from one of their equipment slots, it goes into limbo. While in limbo, the item cannot be equipped by another hero and will not generate income for Dragon's Horde mechanics. Yeah, this one was kind of silly. I remember being like, wait.
This was a really silly exploit that I saw people doing. It was especially with mounts. Like, you would put a mount on one hero, move them and their army, and then transfer the mount to another hero if you only had one mount, and then transfer the mount to another hero, and then move that hero, and then transfer the mount to another. It's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This is stupid. Like,
yeah, it's ridiculous. Okay, this answered my question too. This is only for Steam. So anyway, this is just telling you how you get to it. Obviously, I mean the stuff that we're seeing from the open beta highlights looks great. I think it all makes sense. Only a minor concern for story, but I mean outside of that, I think everything here makes sense. Makes sense to me. I like when games do this. Just in general, it allows for nice okay. I want to try the beta today for a bit, just to check out what kinds of things I'd be getting once the update happens to get into the game version, the release game version, not the open beta branch, the main branch, we'll say. So I have no other comments.
Yeah, if we can briefly look at the full patch notes. If you go down to the very bottom, there's a link to the full patch notes. We don't need to go over the whole thing because there's actually a lot, but just for an example, the research cost changes are at the top. So
see it.
And the Magic Victory rework is right below that. So
on selecting your first tier 3 tome, a new global research skill appears. Bind Gold Ancient Wonder. It's a sustained strategic spell that must target an annexed gold Ancient Wonder. While bound, provides research. Age of Affinity spell appears when you first unlock tier 5. You can channel it while having enough bindings. You lose a binding when your Wanderer City. Okay. So you bind... Oh, scales based on the size of the map. So it could be 1, could be 3, could be 5.
Yeah.
Based on the map size, you may have to You may have to do gold, and gold ones, you're looking at a gold one having an army of like
At least 1,000.
probably closer to 12 to 1300, I think. I
Yeah.
would imagine,
Yeah.
which isn't easy for a single army to take. However, if you just stack all your heroes into an army and then maybe your two best units, you might be
Yeah.
able to do it. I think in some cases this will be about the same. However, on a big map, this is going to be harder to attain. But I think on a
Yeah.
smaller map,
It depends how many you're required to get.
yeah,
Obviously.
if it's like 2 or 3, obviously you have to find the gold wonders, right? But actually taking them, if you just stack heroes pretty early, I don't see it being too challenging when I'm thinking about it. But with the tome changes, obviously that changes things too, because now you're not necessarily going to get your uber powered units as fast.
I
But
mean,
like,
you're going to be researching a lot slower in general, because
Yeah.
like,
right, there's
I'm trying to think, like tier 5 tome like research costs were what, maybe around 2,000 per spell or something like that. I mean, I guess 1, 2.
every tome afterwards is an additional 1000. Individual skills now have a skill level. I don't know. I think on one hand, taking the gold wonders isn't going to be that big of a hurdle, but with the changes to the tome research costs, that's going to balance that out, because now you're going to get your uber units that early. I guess what you do, interestingly enough, what you do is you'd stack heroes. You'd stack like 3 heroes in your army, and then you take the evolution creatures. So the evolution creatures, you try and ramp them up, and there's ways to, because I've been playing it recently, there's ways where you can have it so they don't actually die outright. You have to, like, if they die in the combat, but you win the battle,
They come back.
they come back. So you could do it so that you have 3 heroes and your 2 evolution creatures ramp up to get to their evolution point. Now they're a tier 3 unit. I think 2 tier 3 units plus 3 heroes that are like decently high level. I think you could take a gold with that.
Yeah.
But that's like still, it depends on the gold. Like if it's the gold where it's like you can't get the mitigation option, and it's like it summons a Balor after 5 turns, yeah, you're not winning that. You'd probably
That's the
not
other
take
thing.
that.
Some of the gold wonders also have like crazy effects
Exactly.
like, associated with them that make them way harder. Most of them do actually. So.
Exactly. So it depends. Like you could get really lucky. You could roll the dice to get lucky. So on some cases it's going to be easier. On others it's going to be harder. I think it'll just depend on how it goes. But I think if you do like an evolution kind of creature, you could get them to tier 3 without the access to tier 3 units, just because they're going to evolve. Like some of the storm spirit creatures that are summons can. Like they can evolve. And those are really powerful when they evolve too, so like you could definitely bring those into a gold and they do okay. Interesting. I think it's good though. I think it's all good. I'm just thinking about like, okay, is this easier or harder? Depends.
I have seen some threads on Reddit of people. Again, it's not finalized, obviously, but people don't seem happy with the AI update that they're doing. At least on Reddit, they're saying they don't like what they've done with the AI still. So we'll see. They basically made it, at least what it sounds like, that the AI just like won't fight you unless their army is stronger than yours. So
that's what they do right now.
They just run away. They just run away from
That's
you.
what. Well, hold on. That's what they do now.
Yeah.
That's not a
okay,
change.
I don't know.
That's what they do now.
It.
Okay, they do that. If you're in if you get to story 5, they do this already. The AI already does this. Like this doesn't feel like a change then. So the AI is extremely defensive when they know they're outmatched. They will immediately run away. But as soon as they sniff any bit of they can win, they will chase you to the end of the earth.
Yeah.
They will freaking chase you. So my biggest concern is with this game, I think it just is like in skirmishes though, it felt like the AI never wanted to be aggressive.
Yeah.
That was the difference. In story, they were extremely aggressive at times. Like in Story Mission 5, they just go at you. Yeah. They just go ham. But in skirmishes, it never felt like they wanted to be aggressive. They would always just let you sit there. Every skirmish that I played, and any difficulty, has just been me sitting there while they twiddle their thumbs, fight each other, and I'm like, okay, well, like, you want to go to war with me? I almost feel like I have to be evil and have to poke them to even get them to want to think about attacking me.
For them to want to fight you.
Because they don't. They just don't want to attack you. I have yet to have an AI in a skirmish be like, I'm going to attack you. Even when you had like a magic victory going, they
still wouldn't.
They don't sense desperation. Even in like in the face of like they know they're gonna lose, but they want to just like they have to. Like I sat on a magic victory with like multiple armies just sitting at the edge of my territory because my units were much more powerful than them. But they were like, well, I don't want to go in. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm gonna win. You have to go in.
Yeah.
They all banded together too, and I'm like, okay, well,
at least try.
The AI should at least try. It should know that there's 5 turns left until I win, and just start attacking whatever, just going in whatever, regardless. That's the problem. So I'm looking through some of these now. When under threat, the AI will defend accordingly towards the threat. Makes sense. Thrown cities under siege will become a forced defense. Changed how the AI takes siege durations into account when attacking and defending. Increased research points. AI no longer needs to have a standing threat near their leader or cities to start summoning units. Okay, got it. AI no longer replace gold, mana, and resource improvements, providing a stronger economy. Tactical combat AI will now choose more varied spells. Okay. Yeah, cities with walls no longer have always defend flag. Okay, that's interesting. Anyway, my point is just that the big issue was that they would never attack. This doesn't seem like they ever mention in here, like, well, I guess it says here, like, if there's a threat. So, like, I'm just trying to see, there was one thing in particular that said, like, when under threat, the AI will defend accordingly. But it doesn't mention, like, it'll attack accordingly. Like,
yeah,
the threat of loss should force them to attack.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think needs to be in here that isn't in here, or at least said. Everything else in here, I mean, like, it's hard to say until you actually play it how the AI is going to really react to you. But I will just say the magic victory was easy clap because the AI did not care that I was doing it.
Yep.
They're like, oh, you're going to win. Congratulations. Good job. Great work. You're so good.
Keep at it, kid. You got
Add
it.
that to the Pantheon. And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, well, sure. I mean, they would have, I think if everybody would have attacked me, I would have lost that. But the fact that they either would come one at a time or they just sat at the border, I was just like, okay, well, whatever. Yeah. I'll just sit here, twiddling my thumbs with my really powerful armies because no one attacked me. I got to just scale. So silly. Anyway. Just want to see if there's any map improvements. Oh, interesting. Excavating no longer spawns a roaming stack of monsters that follow you. Yeah, this was a little bit annoying in the underground. I'm glad that they changed
Well,
that
yeah,
to
because if you
no.
excavated with a scout, which is what you did most of the time, and then a unit spawned, well, that scout was probably just gonna die because it would just chase you down. So
Yeah, they would just kill the scout right away. It was just a way for the scout. It was like, oh, do I want to sacrifice a scout? Here you go excavate for a while.
yeah,
So very, very interesting little change there. Anyway, that sounds like a mission in the original Age of Wonders 2, where if you just didn't build anything, you win because it was survival and they weren't smart enough to cap your HQ. Is that Advance Wars? That's Advance Wars.
it's
Advance Wars 2.
Advance Wars, yeah.
I was thinking about it, I was like, wait a minute, Age of Wonders 2, that doesn't make sense. Advance Wars makes sense. Anyway, I don't have any other comments. I mean, like, obviously, like, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, there's a crap ton of balance changes.
There's a
at the
ton
bottom
in
too,
here.
which we're not gonna go through because that's way too much.
I'm just like
But
looking
yeah,
through some
I
of these
mean,
things.
you know, they're continuing to work on the game, and you know, this is, I'm sure, not the first, because the first like major patch was the Wyvern one. But
Yeah,
this is gonna be, I'm sure they're gonna continue doing like major patches and changes and additions and everything. So, yep, the game should continue to get better over time.
yep. Exciting. Hopefully I can play some more. There's a couple things like besides Diablo. There's obviously Diablo that I'm gonna start grinding out this week because I'm kind of have to. But like this game, I want to keep playing. I started a skirmish and paused it briefly, and then also there's like I'll talk about it much later. There's like a DC card game that I talked about before. They went into open beta again yesterday, and I haven't seen anything about it. I was gonna play it at some point for like an hour just to check it out, but really only those games are on my radar right now, and Age of Wonders is always really fun to play. Anyway,